everyone, today we are going to make a little cow gnome. Well, he's not little, he's kind of chubby. So I'm going to show you how I did it. I got the fabric at Joann's, I believe. I'm going to show you how we made his ears and the little horns. So let's get started. So I have about a 15-inch square piece of fabric that I got. It's kind of like a fleece. Don't remember where exactly I found it in the store, but it's the cow print. And I have my sock, the kid sock that I get from the Dollar Tree. I have a piece of cardboard in the bottom with about a cup of rice, and I've stuffed it. So I'm going to put that, set this on the side here. And I'm going to put it in the middle, and I have my string to tie it up with. And I'm going to gather this all up. And then we're going to take our thread. I use the crochet thread, and I always double it. And you're going to wrap it around once, like that. And then bring one end around, so that you can tighten it. And you want to make sure you have all your ends of your fabric in there. And I'm kind of losing it. And then you just tie it once and tighten it. And then if there's a part of it that you know you want as the front, then try to keep that in mind. And I think I'm going to do that as the front. I'm going to cut some of this off. And then we're going to do what I believe is a surgeon's knot. We're going to put it over twice, do like 2-3 loops, and then tighten it, and then do 1 or 2 regular knots, and then cut that excess off about a 1/2 inch from the knot. And then you're going to take and pull up your gathers, make sure it's not really loose, that all your ends from this are out and that you didn't lose any. And then cut your excess off, and some of this excess we're going to use for the ears. I've already cut mine out ahead of time, and I will show you how I made those. And I just realized I don't have his nose, so I'm going to take a quick break and go get his nose, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I have his nose, and we're going to put that on next. We're not going to tie his head off quite yet. So figure out where the front is. And I'd like to tie, and I will link the video below on how I do my noses. I do them the same way for all my gnomes. The fabric I get is at Joann's, and I will link that below. I believe it's like an athletic fabric. They have one that was kind of similar I found, but it wasn't the same as this one. I like this one. It just looked a little bit softer, and I like the flesh colored. And then I made his hat. Well, let's do his ears. So take your excess fabric, and I've already cut mine out. I cut this kind of a shape out, so like a triangle, and then I glued it to the piece of pink felt, so like you can see here. So make sure they're both the same size, and it's about just a little shy of 2 inches at the bottom and about 2 inches long. So maybe about about 1 7/8 or so. You'll know, because if you have a bigger gnome, you're going to probably have a bigger ear. So then I took and glued it all around the edges and in the inside, and then glued it to the pink fabric. And then try to get your edges. And then put it down on your pink felt. And then you're going to have to let it sit so it dries before you cut it out. So I just took a piece of the fabric where I liked the spots and stuff. So like over here, I kind of like this one. So I'm going to cut off most of that black. And you can make it bigger at first and then always cut it smaller. And I ended up trimming it down once I got it glued on there. So you can do that. So then we're just going to cut these out. You're just going to cut around the ear and cut off that excess. I'm just going to trim that off. And then we'll do the same. I'm going to save that. So we can save, we'll just save all our scraps, because you never know. And I had a basket here. You never know when you're just going to need a little piece for like hands or arms or shoes. So then cut this out. And then we're going to take and make sure that both of your ears are the same. You can lay them on top of each other. And then we're going to just take and fold it in half like this and put a little bit of glue right down here, opposite the end of the point. And pinch it together and then just hold it. So just glue right along the edge. Don't go up too far, because you want your ear to be open like that. So do that to both of them. And then pinch it. And then we're going to put his beard on. There's a few different ways I've seen on Pinterest of how they did the beards. But I like this one, and I did a short one because I have a little bell. If I would have thought about it, I probably would have tried to find a cowbell, the little tiny one, but I didn't think of it till I was making it. So I just had this one. It was like in my Christmas stuff, and I just cut it and put it on some ribbon. So we're going to cut his beard, and you always want to just cut the backing. So I have a smaller piece, and I'm going to cut a U-shaped here. And that's going to where his nose is going to go. And I'm going to trim this down a little bit more. I ended up trimming my other beard down after I got it on too, which I've done before. Because sometimes I didn't know I was going to put a bell on until after I had his beard on. And I wanted the bell to show. So like this. This fur I got at a thrift store. And that is a great place, thrift stores, rummage sales, for like your sweaters. The gnomes, a little mini gnome video that I had was a sweater. So you're going to take and put the glue on that U-shape on the bottom there and pull his nose up and tuck it underneath. Make sure the gathers of the nose are under that beard. And press that down, and then glue the tabs on each side of the nose and glue it right up against the nose. And you can make your beard as long, as big, as full as you want. I like to be able to see the body of my gnome and not just a lot of fur. and that's just me. And then take a little bit of glue and glue it right on top of his nose. And that's one of the reasons why I put that in the string and the knot on top, is so I can glue it. And then I have his hat, and I do the hats the same. This piece was about 13 inches long by about 9. So it just depends how big, because you want it to go from here up to here. So it's gotta stretch, and if it's not a stretch fabric, you have to take that into consideration. So you can always make it a little bigger if you're not sure, and then you can always cut it down. And so we're gonna just cut this about 1/4 inch from the seam. And when I cut it at the bottom here, because when I turn it, you're gonna see, like, they call these dog ears. And how I cut that is I will cut it up at an angle like that, so you can't see that point when you turn the hat right side out. And we can keep this scrap because it's big enough to use for something. So let's turn this side, and we're probably going to stuff his hat too. So I have to see if it's going to fit, if I need to stuff his head, or if I need to take some out. And this one I stuffed up before I glued it on. So this hat fits really good. That looks cute. And before we glue that on, we're going to do our bell. So take his hat off. And I just have some ribbon, like a white and cream check. And I cut the end to a point so that I can feed it through my bell. And if you can't grab it, I have either I had a pin is what I had when I did it, or if you can grab it with your fingernails. And then you're just going to take that and put that around his neck, and I like it to have it dangle underneath his beard. So you're just going to tie it in a knot in the back behind his head. And before you pull it, see where it is. So if you have to pull it so you can see it. So that looks good. And if you want to glue that in place, you can. I think I'm going to, just so it doesn't move around. And you can just glue it underneath. Just glue it underneath the knot and then hold it down there. And then we can put his hat on. Oh, let's tie his head off. I forgot about that because his head was stuffed enough. And the socks I get are the kids' socks at the Dollar Tree. And I believe you get probably like 2 or 3 pair for $1. So, and it only takes one sock for a gnome. And the reason I use the sock, it's easier. I mean, I did it one way where I used the fleece as the body and put my rice and stuff in there, and that did work, but this is just easier. It's just protection. It's just the way I do it. So we're going to tie that in a knot. And then if there's any excess, cut that off. And then we'll put his hat on and make sure his beard is even. And I like the seam of the hat. You want it to go down the center, just opposite of the nose. So his nose is right here in the front, so that seam goes down. And I'm just going to lay him down so I can see. And then you're just going to take this and flip it up. And you're going to glue it right along that edge. I need another glue stick. And you're just going to fold that down and pull it where you want it. You got to be careful of his beard. Make sure that's not in the way and that you still have it centered. And then I pulled this one down and I kind of glued the gathers so it would stay. And then you're going to glue it. You're going to pull it up on his nose. I'm going to do the sides first, actually. So this one didn't get glued on the side very well. So you're going to lift that up and glue the sides. I put it on the hat instead of on the body, because then if I don't get the hat where the glue is, then I've messed it up. So glue your sides down, and then you're going to pick it up by his nose and put a little bit of glue right down in here. And you got to make sure you keep the fur off your glue gun, because if it drips on your nose, you won't get it off and your nose is ruined. So I have to take a look. And then you're going to glue it right alongside of his nose by his beard. So I always keep Kleenex so that I can clean off my glue gun. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to stuff his hat. But that's okay. We can pull it down. And then we'll just glue some of these gathers. So then they'll stay in place. And now we have his ears, and I made little horns. And what I made those out of, they were very easy. This is kind of a little mangled mess. It comes in a roll. It's like the wire with that twisted, with the paper twisted on it. So I just took a couple little pieces, put it probably on something you can see. So I just had a couple that I bent, and they're probably about a ½ inch long, so they're not very long. So I folded it in half, and first we're going to get his ears on. So I'm going to do it like here. So I got to turn him around here first and see where I want his ears. And I think his ears are a little too big for me, so I'm going to cut them down, and if I have to re-glue them, I can put a little bit of glue in there. So this is where if you make it too big, you can cut it. If it's too small, then you got to make more. So I'm going to trim this one down too. Make sure I get them both the same. A little bit more. And then we're going to glue it again. Pinch it together. And get rid of my, oops, don't throw my horn away. So then on the ear, where it's folded, you're going to put glue right here, and we're going to glue it to the side of the hat like that. I'm going to trim this side down. And you're going to have to hold it. Be careful of how much glue you put so it doesn't squeeze out. So we're going to have to hold that one. And then the horn is going to go right on top of the ear like that one. And if you want to lay it on its side, you can do that and let that dry. And you got to be careful if you have a little container or something. This is from the top of a paper mache box that I keep. So I always try to have a little container so that I can put my little pieces in so I don't lose them. And then we're going to do the other ear, and just make sure there's a lot of fur. Just make sure, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, make sure you get his ears even. So I got to turn them here. And we're just going to glue that. We're going to let that sit, and we'll lay it on its side so it doesn't flop. And I do have a little sign I wanted to make, and I forgot. And if I can find, I wanted to write on here, and if I glue it to his side or something, I wanted to write, I'll show you. I got this, it's a metallic marker. It's from the Dollar Tree, and sometimes you got to go over your words a couple of times, your letters. And got milk. I thought that was cute. So, I'm not sure if I'll glue it or if I have a display or something. So we have his ears, and then we're going to put his horns on. So you're just going to glue right, because here's where you folded, you bent it in half, and I just took a needle nose pliers because it was hard to do with my hands, and squeezed it, and then I just cut it till about a ½ inch long, and I'm going to glue it. So I'm just going to put a little glue right on the ends and put it right there on the top of his ear. And then you're going to do the same to the other one. So it's just a piece of wire, if you can find something else. But I just had this, and I thought it was really quick. Well, it wasn't really quick because I don't know how long I sat here and tried to make little horns. And he's got fur in his ears. So there we go. There's our little cow gnome. Our little cow gnome turned out very cute. If you have any questions or comments, anything that you are wondering how I did or what I used, let me know. I will try to link stuff in the comments below on what I used and where I got it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to join my crafting community and click on that subscribe button, and then when you click on that little bell, that will notify you each time I upload a new video. You must have your notifications turned on in your settings for that to work. If you have already subscribed to my channel, thank you for supporting me and joining my crafting community. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for coming today. Bye-bye.